Pastor Karen here. I'm glad you're watching, and I invite you to keep tuned in as we look at the subject of discouragement and hopefully how to be more encouraged in your lives right now. So hang in there with me, and let's have fun looking at the scriptures today. If you're thinking about getting your Bible, go grab it. Or if you want to open it in another window on your PC or toggle back and forth on your phone, we're going to be in the book of 1 Corinthians today in chapter 10. And we're going to think about a couple verses in that chapter which talk about discouragement and how to live our lives. So there we go. That's the general idea. There's a quote that runs around in the back of my head, and it's by a 19th century American clergyman. Looks like he was Presbyterian, a well-known pulpiteer, meaning a good preacher, and well-known in his day. And he has a quote: "Pay little attention to discouragement as possible. Plow ahead as a steamer does, rough or smooth, rain or shine. To carry your cargo and make your port is the point." Well, the part that runs around in the back of my head is pay as little attention to discouragement as possible. And I think that is good advice, that we shouldn't be held up and held hostage by the idea of just having so much going on in our lives and feeling so discouraged that we can't feel like we're making any progress, or indeed that we're doing well in life. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it's a great chapter, read the whole thing, but this morning I want to look at a few of the verses. And I'm going to start with verse 12 in the 10th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians. "So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. God will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it." Wow. Love those verses. Verses 12 and 13. In fact, those are some of my very favorite verses. A couple months ago, in a Wednesday devotional, I led you through a process of finding a favorite Bible verse, your birthday Bible verse. And this is mine. And that's how I found it, is originally through that process. And I really have it in the back of my head running around as well, that we all are tempted. We all have things that come up. But God won't give us more than we can bear in the way of temptation and the way of not trying to lead us astray, but in the process of life and its challenges, that we won't be given too much. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it feels like we have been given too much. Sometimes it feels like the pressures are too great and we just can't stand up under them. But here's an example. When I go to physical therapy for my knee, 6 weeks after surgery now, one of the exercises that I do is to stand on a cushion that's about yay thick. And I have to stand on this cushion on one foot and try not to hold on to anything. Try to balance all by myself. And you know what? I'm pretty wobbly. Even before my knee surgery, I would have been pretty wobbly in that situation. Standing on that cushion, trying not to hold on. And it's interesting because my physical trainer says, don't look down, look out. And it's so true. I'm feeling very wobbly. I can't really do it for very long, but I can do it a little bit. But if I look down, I can't do it. But if I look out, it's a little easier. And I think maybe that's the same thing here. You know, if we look at only ourselves, we worry about ourselves, we think about ourselves, we vegetate about what's wrong and what's discouraging, we don't make much progress. But if we can look out, if we can look out to the world, we feel the compassion for the things that are going on in our world. And we think, how can I help? And it may provide a way out of discouragement. to not look so much at ourselves, but to look outward. And remember, as it says right here in these verses, God is faithful. God is with us all the time, in the good and the bad, in the easy and the tough. God is always, always with us. So God, it asks us in this chapter that Paul wrote to the Corinthian church, people at Corinth, that we're supposed to use all the knowledge that we have. And that's very true. Very true in our lives today. God expects us to use what we've got. Smarts, experience, love, energy, knowledge, wisdom, whatever we have, God calls us to use that. And I've heard people say, well, I don't have any gifts. I don't have any talents. But that's not true. Maybe you don't feel like you have great talents. But you know what? Right now, in this time, if you're able to pick up the phone and call somebody, that's a gift. That is a gift, to be able to communicate and to share your hospitality with someone else. Your hospitality of being friendly and being loving. If you can go to the grocery store for your neighbor, that is a big deal. That is using all you've got, your health and your ability to get to the grocery store for somebody who can't manage that. Those are just two very simple ideas. But I've learned in the time since my knee surgery that when people say, "Can I help?" that I say, "Yeah." And here's what I need. Or maybe I don't need anything at that time, but I know that's somebody that I can call on and ask for help. And my friends and my neighbors and y'alls at church have just been wonderful and supportive and helpful in doing things and helping me manage without all my tools, my knee that's not yet fully healed. You have been helping me to be less discouraged and to keep going. The recovery process from knee surgery, I just expect it all pop right back. But it's not like that. It's a long-term process to get that knee back up to snuff. And the surgeon says I'm doing well, and the physical therapy folks are encouraging, yeah, keep going, you're doing good. But it is a long-term process, and that can be discouraging. And in this time of coronavirus cases on the rise here in southwestern Ohio, that's a concern too, and it can be discouraging. And one of our local hospitals has reopened a COVID ward because of all the new admissions. So we have some concerns going on around us, but if we can help each other, if we can look outward instead of inward, if we can pay as little attention as possible to discouragement, that is going to help us a ton in our lives. And if you feel like you're standing off balance, if you feel like you're wobbly, remember, our foundation is Jesus Christ. And when you step off that cushion on firm ground, that is our foundation to rely on. Christ is our firm foundation. God is faithful with us always. Sometimes we can feel it, sometimes we might not. But God is there and always faithful. Sometimes we have to alter what we think and alter how we look at things in our lives. Philippians 4:8 says, whatever is true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think on such things. That's a refrigerator-worthy verse if you're feeling discouraged. That when your mind starts going down that path of being discouraged and upset and not sure what to do and just feeling down about things, think about these other things. Think about things that are good. Think about things that are praiseworthy. Get out a piece of paper and write down your blessings. Write down the things that are good in your lives. It's not a cure for clinical depression. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes our doctors can help us with medication. Sometimes counselors can help us with getting a new attitude and managing how we're feeling so we aren't overwhelmed. But then there's a lot of folks who just feel discouraged, and especially right now. We're looking for things to get better, things to get happier, and it may not be that way for you right now. So be encouraged! Exclamation point. Don't be discouraged by the world. Limit your news media so that you are not overwhelmed by bad news, bad news, bad news, and that repeating cycle that we see on social media, on TV, on the radio. Another thing that is really helpful is to make a point to absorb some scripture. Write down, highlight, make a note of verses that you find which are encouraging, so that in the future you can look back to those verses and say, this is such a help. I love this verse. Those are some simple things that you can do to help if you feel discouraged, if you're feeling down in the dumps. And you may think, I can't do that. That's just too much. It's like work. But sometimes we have to use the tools we have, the tools God has given us, the gifts, the talents, the time that we have to dig ourselves out of discouragement. So I encourage you this week to take on an assignment. To take 15 minutes, not all week, not every day, but 15 minutes one day, or maybe 15 minutes 2 days. And think about what God may be leading you to, what God may be asking you to change to work your way out of discouragement. And if you're not feeling discouraged, to work your way into greater encouragement. Remembering not just to look at yourselves, not just to look down, but to look out and focus on others who you may be able to help with that knowledge and those gifts that you have. So a couple weeks ago, I decided I needed some new pillows. A friend of mine had gotten some fabric and it didn't quite work out for the project she was doing. So I said, hey, why don't you give me that fabric and I'll make some pillows. So here we go. I made some pillows. It was fun. And so the inside of the pillow is a pillow form. It's this size, but it has the stuffing already in it when you buy it. And the outside is just a plain white cloth, very plain. And so on these pillows, I used pillow forms on 2 of them, but one of them was a little small, and I couldn't find a pillow form, a pre-made pillow form that would work. So I bought a bag of stuffing, and I bought some fabric that I could just make my own pillow form that was the right size. So I did that. But when I was done, I had some fabric left over and some stuffing left over. So I thought, well, I'll just make another pillow that is of this fabric. And it's kind of an underwater kind of motif. Little fish there, little underwater aquatic plant here. And you know what was interesting as I used this stuffing? It tells you how to use it. It says you should knead it. You should pull it apart and then stuff it in the pillow. And an interesting thing about the bag of fiberfill, polyfill, it comes with a tool. I know, this looks like a stick, doesn't it? A dowel rod. It was in a nice little package, like straws come in, and on the paper were instructions about how to use the stick. And it said, this is a tool, didn't call it a stick, and it's to help you get the stuffing down in the corners of the pillow with the sharp end. And with the dull end, you're supposed to push the stuffing around so it's not lumpy and bumpy in your pillow. And I thought, that's incredible. These people gave me a stick. And I set it aside. But you know, a little bit later, I was right back there getting that stick saying, yeah, I'm going to use that. That is a good tool. That's what God's asking us to do. Use all the tools you get. Make sure you go back and open up the package on the ones you've never used before. That's what God's saying. Don't be discouraged. Use the tools that you have. Well, I'm going to finish this pillow up. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you'll read 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Hope you'll look back in my videos here on YouTube and find the one that talks about a birthday Bible verse so that you can find a verse of your own that you love and is refrigerator worthy, worth writing down and putting on the fridge to look at every day. Well, God bless you. We'll see you again soon. Take care and pay as little attention to discouragement as possible.